Finally alone, I sit on the bed and breathe. The old woman left a frail, aged tea set on the tiny child's table in the corner of the room. Its frame of white curlicues a perfect match for the faded red flowers that pucker the snowy bed sheets like sets of children's lips. They stretch around my weight, crinkling and widening with the placement of a hand, a leg, stretching into grins, sneers. Outside, the rain thrums and lightning blooms through the fogged window like light from the blinking eye of a cataract god. She had a wedding band on, the proprietress and resident. Downstairs, roaming hunched in an empty house, smiling all the same past the accents of life, pitchers and vases and still lives and frames, brass knobs and doilies and potpourri bowls, all without the bodies that need them. Each room a scene, a mock-up in waiting, directing its own use through the placement of objects, the soft glide of hands, warm against ceramic that lifts to mouths unlaughing. She must not like guests, no matter the money. I'm disturbing her facsimile, clearly, disrupting the fantasy that can fill unused space, making time move and so become real. I turn my wedding band again and again, solid and whole as it orbits my finger, watching it spin, its gleam shifting under lamplight, shaded and safe from the cycles of days. In its twists I consider what awaits me. In its sheen I see the night looming. I catch only glimpses, dreams past and those to come, night after night. The sucking blackness, the pit driven through the lower mass of my brain, down to some hell, and through to the limitless drawl of time beyond death. In vaguer sleep, I see her revolving there, fetus curled, and conscious on birth, enwombed in an absolute vast that obliterates with the touch of frost, needing me for warmth, needing to clutch me and pull me in and buck our bodies as one till I vanish along with her screams. The details are fading, shrinking to nothing. Only essence remains in the dark room of memory, revealed by negatives averse to light and blasted by the morning. The after-image of pearly shoulders filling the spot next to mine, warm under hair spread wide and uncaring on a pillow scrunched around a face I can no longer see. The fourth-floor ward, spotless and clear. Beds are a trigger, is what the doctor said, reminding me of something by showing me nothing, panic attacks and the rattle of bottles. I hate sleeping now. Sleep and terror and headaches for days. I want to leave, but can't. Leave the tiny floral room, its quaint house, the green country, the blue world. But I have to see her. It's the only way to know. I click the lamp off and lay back, still in my clothes, clutching my head and staring straight up. Darkness thickens around the white lightning peeking inside. I don't remember falling asleep. No one does. We only know when we wake. In between, I drift and see headlights slicing through sleep, twins side by side like the linked arms of angels extending before me, careening down paths blacker than pitch, rain-soaked and slippery, past figures of shadow ignoring my passing. I plunge through to dark water with my light arms proffered, engulfed in blackness that quivers like fear and collects my light in bundles of radiance, deeper, down, further, as the weight above sinks like gravity, and I choke and gag from the pressure. I gasp awake, and howl and pant as I tear through twists of sheets that tangle around me like waves, throttling my body with tiny red flowers made wet by my skin. A rap at my door. Again, louder but still tiny, and a thin voice asks me if I'm all right. I ignore her and breathe, just breathe through my chest. Feel it rise, feel sweat cool, just like the doctor said, feeling lungs shrink. Silence is enough, perfect and whole. No pills this time, just breathe it away. The old woman leaves, quiet and alone. No pills, but maybe just a sip. The man in the shop at the table was right. It is harder to breathe in moist air after drinking, but it's harder still to be awake without it. The shadows are still there, heavy on the ceiling, Lightning wipes them away with each blink. I lie still and wait for morning, drinking each breath, swallowing each drink, watching memories dwindle, feeling through closed eyelids the rising sun grown fainter in autumn. In the room with the food, I stack slices of brown bread on a porcelain plate with a tiny triangle chip breaking its ring of blue daisies. I scoop butter from a dish using a blunt flayed knife with metalwork along the handle too fine for a modern age. I smear jam. I say thanks to the old stooped woman who smiles at my choices. She says nothing of the night before, thankfully. She offers to cook me eggs if I'd like. It's your place, I reply. Up to you. Sure, it'd be nice, thank you. I say something like this. My own breath tastes like a plague, and I keep my lips pressed closed to conceal it. The toothpaste did nothing. She seems satisfied and uses an outstretched arm to guide her wobbly body through the doorway into the kitchen. She is like a thin tree caught in a wind, blind to the frailties of the tiny limbs it touches. I watch my fingers fumble over my plate. They are stupid, like branches that can't feel and don't bend. I can barely focus from the lack of sleep. Crumbs scatter everywhere. I hiss at the mess. The human body is too intricate. Too many moving parts. Frail in its complexity. Tighten a joint, and it rips. Press on the bones, and they snap. Cinch one valve, and that's it. Caulk a tube, and let the machine crack from mistreatment. Let the final blackness well up and drown you till you forget what was and wash away inside its immeasurable, forever plunge. Easier than anything. I feel myself tearing. Images of dreams flicker across my vision. Headlights, shadows, suffocating in water, and fuse with memories of driving in the rain, airport fluorescence, and the slow shuffle of immigration. The old woman hobbles back. Thank you for the eggs, miss. She smiles behind skin that droops like folded curtains. I can barely see her eyes behind the piebald bunches. She glances at my plate as if her future rests in my contentment. She wants to know if her present can ever match her past. They're lovely. I chew through my smile the rubber mush that cools tasteless and sweats in my mouth. I'm glad you like them. Rough night, dear. After a moment, I resume chewing, wondering how to answer, feeling embarrassment build. No more than any other. What brings you to County Clare, then? Her smile doesn't budge, and neither does she. I don't want a repeat of the shop in Limerick. I've heard what a beautiful country it is. I want to see it for myself. Ah, this is your first time, then? How lovely. Some tea? It's very pretty. Yes, please. All by yourself, though? That's a shame, it is. I stir some milk into my tea, settling on an answer. I know I defied the tea rule. Milk first, then pour. No, I'm fine by myself. Easier to get around. I see. She's there, then, already. I'm sorry? Your wife. She's waiting for you. The old woman's smile doesn't change, and neither do her eyes. I glance at her wedding band. I see her outside my door, tapping, looking exactly like this the night before. You know about it, then? The field? Oh, of course, dear. It's a lovely place. My Seamus has a spot picked out, right next to him. It's lovely, it is. You're sure to see it if you look. Are you headed there after breakfast? I place my utensils down and consider the possibility that the old woman is senile. You've seen your husband? Out there? Oh, no. She flips a hand nonchalantly. But the men usually do go first. We women wait, as always. Wait for them to catch up all our lives, and then watch them leave. Why don't you go to him? I mean, if it's so simple. You make it sound that way. Oh, it's not that simple, not really. You can't push these things, not without consequences, you see. Not really. I don't see. Well, he wanted this place for us, a place for travelers, a bed and breakfast like this, for people like you. I don't want to give up on it just yet. I'd rather wait a bit more. Then go. Listen, if you know anything, I'm just trying to see my wife again. What can you tell me? She laughs, politely. So many questions. Young people have so many questions. It takes effort to remember, dear. That's why I've stayed behind. Memories fade on their own. I see. She pats me on the shoulder. Enjoy your breakfast. You can pay when you're done.